Hello YouTube, today with me Garmin Epix 2 in 42mm version. We will consider what changes there in the new Epixes and whether they are worth paying all attention to them. So let's move on. The first thing that I suspect a lot of people have been waiting for, including me, is the size diversity. Previously the Epix came in only one size, 47mm, and that may not have suited everyone. For some it was too big, for some it was too small. Now we have three sizes, 42mm, 47mm and 51mm. Like last time, we have several versions, standard with Gorilla Glass, sapphire versions and jewelry versions that have sapphire glass and the additional strap included. This is the jewelry version. What is great is currently all Epixes have 32 GB of memory and multi-band GPS. This should be standard in my opinion in the previous version. What comes with the sizes, of course, is the battery. The smallest size, which is the one I personally own, is up to 10 days in gestures mode and 4 days in always-on mode. 47mm version, here is nothing has changed. There is 6 days in always-on and up to 16 days in gestures mode. And here the black horse is the 51mm version, because we have up to 11 days in always-on mode and 31 days in gestures mode. As for my 42mm version, I was very scared. But fortunately, there was nothing to be afraid of. In my case, with training up to 60 minutes, the watch holds for days. Of course, I have, for example, saturation measurements turned off. While I wear this watch at night, I have a lot of notifications, so I'm satisfied. If a workout I do gets longer, for example, doing a longer distance on the bike, then this battery life drops to up to 3 days, but it always never below 3 days in the always-on mode. Also, new thing is the charging cable. We still have that old Garmin input, which should have been changed to some sort of wireless charging a long time ago, in my opinion. I don't know why Garmin keeps pushing this solution, but I hope that maybe in the next generation it will be already changed. On the other hand, the second input was changed. Now, instead of USB-C-A, we have USB-C Type-C. As for the interface of the watch itself, here not much has changed compared to the previous Epix. It continued to be such an elegant style, minimalistic, more or less flashy than in, for example, Forerunner 965. The changes are really cosmetic. Added to the weather widget, for example, the ability to check the temperature, rainfall, cloud cover or wind on the map, but you must be connected to your phone, and this is only available from the weather widget. As we are now on the maps, all maps currently have shading. If you turn on the maps while navigating, for example, the shading is available from the factory, which is nice too. We have also added something like red shift, which means red lightning, kind of like the tactical mode. Then the whole watch, the whole interface turns red. Maybe someone used this, I just don't use it. 2 new indicators have been given, that is hill score and endurance score. Hill score rates our endurance on uphill runs. The second indicator, the endurance score, assesses our ability to be active for long periods of time. And here data is collected from all activities, that is, for example, cycling, running or walking. And of course, both of these indicators are helpful in calculating our VO2 max. What I have noticed with the Epix Pro is that it runs more smoother, much more smoothly than, for example, the Epix I had this 4 months ago. While, of course, this could have changed as some new updates may have come to the Epix. We have added new sports mode, including modes that some people have been waiting for. This is team games like football, basketball, volleyball. We have also added racket sports like squash or tennis. I, for example, was waiting for table tennis because I also happen to play it, and so I have to make a separate activity for that. And now we move to the more important things, in my opinion, of course. We have a new heart rate sensor, a 5th generator sensor. In the Epix 2, we had a 4th generation sensor, as well in the Forerunner 965. I decided to run with both of these watches by relating to the results to the Polar Verity Sense belt, because one thing is to write that we have a new 5th generation sensor, which is implicitly more accurate, but it's another thing is to actually test it while running or cycling. Here we have a heart rate graph for running. Of course, some differences between the belt, which is in green color, and the watches will appear. However, note that despite the fact that here this graph I supposedly two watches differ slightly from the belt, these differences are not very big. In general, all I can say that these differences between belt and the watches are already small. In the same way, the differences between Forerunner 965, which is the 4th generation heart rate sensor, and the Epix 2 Pro are also not so dramatically opposed. And it can be seen in the graph that these watches often go very equal with each other. When it comes to the bike, here was a kind of interval. There was an uphill and downhill, and it was repeated. Anyway, you can see that from the graph. Notice that these watches go very similar to the belt. Here there is really not much deviation anymore. In some places the readings differ, but in general you have to admit that the accuracy of the heart rate sensor when it comes to the latest Garmin is already at the high level. Let's take a look at the GPS now. Here, as you can see, both watches do not deviate too much from the course. There is not much reason to complain. The next thing is the flashlight. And here is a new thing because we have a flashlight that was previously reserved from the larger watches such as Fenix X series. This is a LED flashlight or a real flashlight located here on the top of the watch. You can see really the difference. In Epix 2 there was the same flashlight as in Forerunner 965. Now in this flashlight we can use both white light of different intensity and red light. The same is in the Forerunner 965. There we also have the option of both white and red light. However, the intensity of light of this flashlight is incomparable to Epix 2. And this really can be seen, for example, when entering a dark room in the evening. Then the differences is really dramatic when it comes to these flashlights. If someone runs a lot after dark, it really is a very helpful gadget in this matter. And now, looking at these changes, it is worth buying Epix 2 Pro if we have Epix 2 or Forerunner 965, or it is even worth buying one if we don't have either watch for now. I have always said to myself that if Epix appears in 42mm version, then I will buy it. And the Epix 42mm appeared, and still in the jewelry version which I had in Fenix 7S Sapphire Solar. And for me this is a brilliant combination. I don't regret buying this watch in any way because I finally have a beautiful woman's watch with great sports features and the screen I've always wanted. But if someone has a 47mm version of previous Epix 2, then given that the heart rate sensor is not dramatically better and you don't care about the new LED flashlight, then you have to wonder if this change makes sense at all. Unless someone needs additional sports modes like football, but we also have to remember that these modes may appear on Epix 2 or Forerunner 965. It is possible that Garmin will add these modes to these watches, but we have to wait. I think the sense of changes when someone would like the smaller version like 42mm or bigger version 51mm. In general, I think the 51mm version is currently a black horse. I'm talking here about the battery life. Of course, if someone has such a large wrist to wear this 51mm versions, of course. So it all depends on you. I personally, if I had the 47mm version of the Epix right now, and wasn't planning to change to the larger or smaller size, I don't think I would change the Epix. If someone has Forerunner 965, it depends. Then I recommend going back to my video comparing Epix to the Forerunner 965. The Epix is made more premium, and you have to decide if you care more about the lighter watch and if you, for example, want to save money, because that's what it really comes down to. For me, that would be all. I invite you, of course, for my next videos, and see you.